In this video, we'll show you how to change the front brake caliper on your Chevy Silverado. You can find it on CarParts.com via the link in the description. For safety reasons, we strongly suggest watching our video on how to jack your Chevy Silverado safely. Open the brake fluid reservoir. Place a container to collect the fluid under the caliper, since the brake fluid may leak out. Before removing the entire braking system, use a ratchet and an 11mm socket to undo the Banjo screw while the caliper is attached to its support. With a ratchet and a 19mm socket, unscrew the slide pins. You can use a 19mm wrench to prevent the bolts from rotating. Finish unscrewing by hand. You can now finish unscrewing the Banjo screw. Then remove it. Here's a tip. You can limit brake fluid leakage during this operation by plugging both sides of the Banjo screw with Banjo shutter pliers. You can now remove the caliper. Remove the brake pads by prying them out with a flathead screwdriver. Using a socket wrench and an 18mm socket, unscrew the two holding bolts on the caliper mount. Depending on the state of the bolts on the caliper mount, it may be necessary to use a hammer to loosen them. Remove the caliper mount. You can order the brake caliper and caliper mount used in the video on CarParts.com via the link in the description. Get the new assembly and unscrew the slide pins. Take the new caliper mount. Hey, it's Alex from CarParts.com. For great content, our best price, and fast shipping, download the CarParts.com app now. Using a small wire brush, brush the location of the caliper mount bolts. Also, brush the caliper mount retaining bolts, then apply medium-strength thread locker to prevent accidental unscrewing. Reassemble the caliper mount by screwing first by hand. Then with a socket wrench and an 18mm socket to lock them in place. Finish tightening using a torque wrench. Get hold of the anti-rattle clips supplied in the kit. Place the new anti-rattle clips on the caliper mount. Grab the pads and lightly coat the ends with copper grease to help them slide more easily. Insert the pads into the caliper mount by sliding them in. Grab the caliper. Put the new brake caliper in place and screw in the new slide pins by hand at first. Block the rotation of the guide pins with a 19mm wrench and screw the slide pins back in using a socket wrench and a 19mm socket. Finish tightening using a torque wrench. Use pliers to remove the rubber plug from the caliper. Get the new seals and the Banjo screw. Put a new seal on the Banjo screw and install the assembly on the hose. Then put the second seal on the Banjo screw. Screw the Banjo screw that connects the brake hose to the caliper back in. Finish tightening the Banjo screw with a torque wrench. When replacing a brake caliper, you need to bleed the brake fluid system to remove air from the system. To do this, we suggest watching our video, How to Bleed the Brake Fluid System, Chevy Silverado. After bleeding, remember to clean the caliper disc assembly with brake cleaner. Then you will be able to put the wheels back on your vehicle. Put the car back on the ground and block the wheels properly. Don't forget to screw the brake fluid cap back on before starting the car. Attention! Before using your vehicle again, start your car and pump the brake pedal a few times to push the brake pads together again. Try to drive smoothly and avoid sudden braking for the first 30 miles or so to avoid glazing the new pads. Operation complete.
Quality parts, priced right.